In the last video, you watched the product Bible go from blank document to a 5-section control system in 5 minutes. Now, we put it to work on the actual mess that started this project. Okay? What I'm about to paste into the AI is not a polished stakeholder email. Vladimir called me on the phone. I sat there with the notebook for an hour and a half. Later that evening, I typed up the conversation while his words were still fresh in my head. And just repetition, the way he actually talks, that's what's going into the prompt. This is step 2 of C.R.A.F.T framework, raw request capture. Do not clean up the input, paste it in quotes, let the AI work from the real mess. Here is what goes underneath the product Bible. Then, listen, the situation is this. There are 27 of us. Sometimes new ones come, sometimes old ones leave. The boss wants this fair. Right now, everyone wants the second shift because it suits them better. There are plenty of reasons why is that. But if everyone is in the second shift, who works in the first one? Nobody. So I thought the modest ones should get the preference. Whoever asks for second shift only when they really need it, not every day. The greedy ones who want it every day, they should not have priority. The weekend is something else entirely that has its own rules. And it has to be every Friday from 8 to 12, because that's when we know the schedule for the next week. Okay? So 200 words, that's the entire brief for an application that ends up shifting with the 12 section of functional specification. So I add the instruction line. Do not assume anything beyond what is stated. Ask clarifying questions if the request is ambiguous. And hit enter. 47 clarifying questions come back. 47 questions from 200 words of a phone call. I'm not going to walk you through all 47. I will show you the ones that matter most. Group in the 4 buckets that naturally fall into. 3 of these buckets are supporting evidence. One of them broke the project open, and we'll get there. Bucket 1 is quotes. The AI asked how many workers must be in the first shift for it to function, what the second shift maximum was, and what happened when more workers want the second shift than there is a room for. So Vladimir had numbers in his head the whole time. 11 minimum for the first shift, 4 maximum for the second. He never said this out loud during the call. The AI asked, and he answered. Now those numbers live in specification. Bucket 2 is weekend logic. Vladimir said the weekend has its own rules. He didn't say what they were. So the AI pressed different shift options, different priority, different submission rules. The answer turned out to be a completely different scheduling mechanic. Ranked preferences with the fallback choices. 2 picks per day instead of 1. None of that existed in the original brief. Bucket 3. Time and life cycle. What happens to a worker who starts filling out the schedule at 11:55 but doesn't finish by 12? What about empty submissions? What if the Friday is a holiday? 3 rules surfaced from 1 bucket. Partial 7 go in as is. Empty submission goes to the administrator. And the holiday case, watch what the AI did with this one. It didn't even invent a rule, it flagged it as an open question for the stakeholder. This is the thing students miss when they think AI does requirements automatically. The AI surfaced uncertainty instead of hallucinating certainty. That's exactly what you want in refinement. the places where AI says, I don't know, you decide, are as valuable as the places where it confidently identifies a constraint. Trust the model that asks, but be skeptical of the model that always answers. Now, bucket 4, fairness, because this is the moment that justifies the entire framework. Vladimir said modest workers should have priority, but he never used the word algorithm. He had no number in mind. He had a feeling about fairness. Okay? And fairness do not run in code. So here is the part I want you to pay attention to, because it teaches a skill you can use on every requirement you ever write. A human facilitator in a refinement meeting almost always asks the same question at this point. Okay, what do you mean by a fair? That question feels productive, right? But it isn't. It opens a 20-minute abstract discussion where everyone agrees fairness matters and nobody leaves with a rule a developer can implement. But the AI asks something completely different. How many days of second shift in a week makes a worker modest, and how many makes them greedy? It's the same topic, but different question. The first one is conceptual, the second one is operational. Okay? The AI didn't ask Vladimir what he meant. It asked him for a number that could run in the code. That distinction is the entire game. The operationalization turned a feeling into a rule, turning a value in judgment into a threshold. That's what separates a product person from a facilitator. And that's the question pattern you can take into every conversation with a stakeholder for the rest of your career. Okay? When someone uses a fuzzy word, do not ask them to define it. Ask them for the number, the boundary, or the count that makes it true. I sent the AI's questions to Vladimir over a voice message, and his answer came back in 10 seconds. 1 or 2 days, that's modest. 3 or more, that's great. That single sentence built the entire priority system. From that one rule, displacement mechanism follows. The tidebreaker logic flows. The quota enforcement flows. The whole back half of the functional specification is downstream of that one number. A team could have spent 3 refinement meetings cycling around the word fair without ever asking that exact question. The AI asked it on the first prompt. And you already have stories like this in your backlog right now. Anything in your inbox with the words like simple, fair, flexible, priority, smart, intuitive, or easy to use is hidden unspoken business rules underneath. Those are the words to watch for. Those words are not requirements. They are feelings. And until somebody operationalizes them, the developers will guess. And developers' guesses will be usually wrong, because developer has never been in the room where the feeling formed. This is why the framework matters. 47 questions are not refinement questions. They are pre-refinement questions. Okay? Think of them, they are the questions you bring to your stakeholder over Slack or in a 50-minute call before anyone walks into a meeting. Vladimir answered every single one of them in one conversation. Without AI, we would have discovered each of those rules during development, one at a time. Each one a Slack thread, a half-built feature, a piece of rework, a delay. Okay? So here is the reframe I want you to leave this lecture with. This project did not become complex during development. It was already complex during the first phone call. The complexity was just invisible. But C.R.A.F.T framework made it visible before the sprint started. That's the leverage, not fastest typing, not better formatting, visible complexity in advance. Okay? Now you have 47 answered questions and one tangled mess. Admin features, worker features, system rules, weekend exceptions, all in one heap. That's the next lecture. One request becomes 6 stories. And I will show you the decomposition prompt that untangles the heap, then run the full C.R.A.F.T framework on the hardest of the 6. The clock starts the moment we pick the first story.